me, Harry the Gorillagician, and do I have a story for you? Hello everybody, Merry Christmas. Today I just want to share with you one of my family's Christmas traditions. We have in our family a tradition where we read a Christmas story every night starting on December 1st all the way up until Christmas Eve. And it was started by my grandmother right before she passed. She put together a book full of all of her favorite Christmas stories and then gave a copy to all of her kids. And so I thought I would share one of my favorite ones with you. And this is a story that I don't hear a lot. There's a lot of Christmas stories I hear every year. You can find them on YouTube, you can find them all over the place. But this is a story I don't think I've heard anywhere outside of this book. And it's a great story. It's not a traditional Christmas story necessarily. It's about cavemen bashing each other in the head. It's a lot of fun, but it has a really fun message. It has a really fun Christmas message, so I hope you enjoy. It's called Why Christmas is Nice. And I don't know who it's written by. I haven't really been able to find it. Maybe you guys can, like, send me a comment or something, tell me, but it's called Why Christmas is Nice. Once upon a time, before anything much was organized and when people were all pretty much the same and had not learned to be doctors and bookmakers or husbands or milkmen, there were never any holidays because everyone was too busy. What were they busy doing? Taking stuff. They spent all their time either taking stuff or trying to take stuff or planning to take stuff from each other or fixing the walls and fences and barbed wire in their section of the jungle so that no one could take stuff from them. In those days, it was considered most necessary to have a lot of stuff, and taking it gave people a stimulating feeling. When they took something especially good, or in other words, big, the feeling started in the back of their backs and spread down across their back and made a little tingle in their left foot. This feeling was the only feeling anyone ever had, except maybe being scared or being hungry. Several techniques were used. First, swiping. This was the most difficult because naturally, few people were foolish enough to leave any of their stuff unguarded. The second and most popular method was to find someone smaller than you and give him an unexpected bash. Then you could grab his stuff and run. The method, although dangerous, had the advantage of being helpful, as bashing and running promoted deep breathing and kept the waistline down. Now in time, the smaller people learned to be very clever, hiding and swiping, and the larger developed a protective layer of bone across the back of their skulls, and some of the medium-sized discovered they could just tell big lies about the amount of stuff they had hidden, and this was about the same as actually having the stuff. And so a status quo came to exist. It balances out for pretty much everyone that is, except Marvin Ook. Marvin Ook lived in a rather provincial section of the jungle, and his only neighbors were named Glug, Hauk, Merdley, and Lester. Now, Glug, Hauk, Merdley, and Lester had each accumulated exactly the same amount of stuff. They were all about the same size, and they had equally excellent walls, and so it became difficult for them to increase their stuff. One day, Merdley would bash Glug and take his shirt and egg beater, but the next day, Hauk would bash Merdley and take his shirt and a fountain pen, and so on and so forth, and they were all getting bashed a great deal, and in the long run, there was no percentage in it. So after a while, they all concentrated mostly on taking stuff from Marvin Ook, which wasn't easy. Marvin was the smallest, the most simple-minded, and the least devious of all the people. He didn't even have a proper wall or fence, and as a result, he had no stuff. In fact, Marvin never had anything. He didn't even have a pair of pants, which slowed him down socially. He lived on a diet of toadstools, these being the only things he could depend on not being taken, and the only feeling he ever experienced was not getting hit, which he considered enjoyable. So it wasn't long before Gloog, Hauk, Merdley, and Lester gave up on trying to take stuff from Marvin. It wasn't even worth the trouble it took to bash him, because although he bashed easily, Marvin was concussion prone and merely fell quietly face forward and didn't yell or holler or do anything fun. And so in this part of the jungle, the status quo'd more than suitable. Actually, the status became over-quo'd. And Gloog and Hauk and Merdley and Lester sat beside their walls and got restless. "It is not right to take stuff," Merdley said. "One should get more stuff. That is the way of things." He would then go out and try and sneak up on Gloog or catch Hauk or swipe something from Lester, but he never would. Then he would go back home and fret some more. "I will lose my technique." And one day he added, "I must keep in practice or my know-how will desert me." So he rushed out and found Marvin Ook, and in his mind, he pretended that Marvin was carrying a double armful of stuff. He then gave Marvin an excellent bash and pretended to take the imaginary stuff in the prescribed manner. But it didn't work. He didn't get any feeling or tingle at all. He went back home and fretted some more. "I was not playing the game to pretend," he told himself, and he began to think. After a bit, he had an idea. He said, "If I'm going to practice on Marvin, I must play the game. He must have something for me to take. So I will go out and..." He paused to make up a new word to express this odd idea he had in mind. "Give. I will give Marvin something first. Then I can take it." When Marvin saw him, he sighed and looked about for a soft spot to fall forward on. He was, of course, surprised, even shocked, when Merdley made no bashing gesture whatsoever. He just stopped in front of him and said, "Ook!" and made a peculiar grimace, which men later learned to call a smile. "Ook! I have some stuff to give you." He pushed a spoon toward Marvin. Marvin backed away. "Merdley has sprung a gasket," he thought. "I shall carefully go away, as he may become dangerous." But Merdley anticipated Marvin's escape and seized him by the arm. "Here," he said, "I want you to have this spoon." Then he stepped back and prepared to give Marvin a giant bash and take the stuff in the approved manner. But before he could move, he felt a strange new feeling. A feeling 10 times more powerful than the feeling he had when he took stuff. It started in the back of his chest and spread not only through his back and left foot, but all over. He began to tingle in both feet and both hands and on the top of his head. The new feeling was so pleasant and so powerful that Merdley had to catch his breath and sit on the ground. "Huh," he said, again making the terrible grimace. "Giving stuff," he said, "is..." He searched for a new noise, another new word that he could use to express this crazy idea. Ooser? No. Meepy? No. Miser? No. And then, nicer. Yeah, nicer sounded exactly right. Giving stuff, Merdley said, is nicer than taking stuff. Merdley soon found out that part of the new feeling was a desire to tell everybody else about it. And so he did. And another great discovery was made. The secret of the new feeling has been passed down from century to now, and although sometimes we don't see too much evidence of it, people seem to remember it very clearly at Christmas time. And instead of taking and bashing, they give. And it feels very nice. I hope you enjoyed the story. Merry Christmas.